Well, good afternoon. Special edition of Fair Game Laguna. As always, I have our mayor, Alex Rounaghi. Alex, so good to see you.
Great to be with you.
And we are joined by a very special guest this week. He shouldn't be a guest because he's now a local, and that's Dr. Jason Glass from the superintendent for Laguna Beach Unified School District. Dr. Glass, so good to see you.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Alex. I was delighted to get the invitation to be on your program, and I'm thrilled to be here to talk about things happening in our schools.
So tell me, you've been here for what, maybe 120 days now? Uh,
Coming up on 100, you'll be
100, okay?
100 in right at the beginning of October, so it's gone by quickly.
Okay, and lots going on, and I kind of want to get to all of them, but we're going to start off by kind of taking a look at that first 100 days, some of the sense of accomplishment that you felt, some of the things that you needed to do. So why don't you talk about those, working with the board, and you also have a listening effort going on that's kind of coming to a head. So talk about those things and where we are.
Yeah, it's really been a delightful and exciting first couple of months here. Our family has relocated from Kentucky. So I was actually working in Michigan, but our family was living in Kentucky. So we made a cross-country move to this beautiful place. One of the reasons that we chose Laguna Beach was because of the quality of our schools here. We have two middle school age kids, and this was a exciting community and school system for them to be in. So that, like many of the families here, coming to this community for the schools was a big draw for us. I have always approached these new roles as that there's a lot of good and a lot of things right going on, and I want to support and continue those things. I don't come in immediately with a new playbook and try and drop it on an organization and say, here's everything that we're going to start doing differently. I take some time to learn, understand the context, understand the decisions that have been made, and then start making changes that are in the interest of the community, but informed by the community and the staff. So that's the process that we are in right now. Certainly, when you hire a new coach, you get a new playbook. So we'll start implementing some changes going forward, but those will be, again, thoughtful about the context and the place. So we've done lots of outreach and listening through surveys and town hall forums and individual conversations and discussions like we're having today to give me lots of data and feedback around what's going well, what things we need to let go of or stop doing, and what are the traditions that people really honor in the community that we want to make sure we hang on to going forward. So that process is well underway. The board will get a 100-day report from me on October 9th, so I'll release that to the board and to the whole community that will summarize those findings. But it won't still be kind of a new strategic plan. It'll be the culmination of all that listening, and it will lay out some ideas for us to consider going forward. But I hope it leads into more conversations around what do we prioritize, what things go in what order, and validate that what I heard and how I saw things in the community were indeed the priorities that people had. The vision going forward will be at its strongest if it reflects what people in Laguna Beach told us they want for their children and their schools and their community, because that's really hard to argue with as what should be our priorities going forward. So that's the effort that's underway right now.
So tell me the temperature of the school board, because I think when you came aboard, and Alex certainly is familiar with this. Alex came on to the Laguna Beach City Council. There was a lot of, um, maybe chaos is the wrong word, but things happening around City Hall and everything kind of shifted over to the school. A lot centered around the differences on the board. How is the board doing today? You have five members on the board. There was a strong divisiveness between the two groups. How have you worked to, when you have five bosses like that, in essence, how has that process worked, and how do you feel the board's working together today?
Yeah, it before I got here, these are well-known challenges that the district faced, so I won't be breaking any new news. But as you both know, there was a change in board control. It resulted from two seats changing hands, and Sherry Morgan and Howard Hills being elected last fall. That changed a power dynamic with the board that had existed for some time. So that was a major shift in terms of governance with the district. At the same time, the superintendent who had been in place for 9 years, Jason Valori in the district, accepted a separation agreement with the district, and he effectively went on leave in late 2024, and the district was operating effectively without a sitting superintendent for a few months. Jeff Dixon was eventually placed into the acting superintendent role later that spring, but you had sort of a perfect storm from a governance perspective where you have a disrupted school board leadership and a lack of administrative support. So it's really no wonder that they struggled the way that they did over those months um, with all of that change taking place. So I really felt like my role coming in was to try and create stability both from the administrative perspective that school is going to open smoothly and on time. Kids can expect to have quality teachers and school lunches that are hot and nutritious, and the buses are going to run on time. Things are going to work like they should. And so that was a major priority for us. And Laguna Beach has incredible personnel, incredible staff here. And so they were working hard to make that happen. But that was a priority for me as well, was to establish that stability on the administrative side. On the governance side, it was also to support this board and how to work together, even though they disagree fundamentally on some things. They don't have to agree on everything. I can say that all of my board members deeply love this community, deeply care about this school system. And all of them are consumers of the school system. They have kids who've gone through the schools. They've been employees of the school system, or they are graduates of the school system, or they're deeply embedded in this community. So they have a vested interest. They all come from those perspectives. So that's something that definitely unites them. But their priorities around where they what they focus on going forward are very different. I will say that one thing that I'm thankful for is that our divide is not a partisan political divide that is as it is in many parts of the country, and that's something for which we should be thankful, because those divides are really hard, and you get pressure from outside forces and groups that try and exacerbate or inflame that divide. That's not something that we have here. We have been working on our processes during the meetings to really help the board, even though they may disagree on things, on how to deliberate, how to debate civilly, and then vote and take action. So the board isn't sort of paralyzed trying to argue or interrupt each other or win an argument. That's really not the point of the board meeting. It's for the board to consider an item, state their case, and vote and move on. And so that's what we've been working on. And we've had our stumbles, but I will say that the board is getting better. They are improving. They're committed to improving, and I really want to express appreciation for our president, Dee Perry, who's worked really hard to grow into this role and take on what can be a challenging role in sorting out all the ways that the board is disagreeing on things and move them toward a functional decision-making process.
You know,
Yeah,
it's
and
funny.
Tom,
Go ahead.
just want to jump in there and just appreciate Dr. Glass for immediately meeting with me, myself, the city manager, as well as President Perry, who also happens to be my third grade teacher, even before he started at the school district, and then as well as he spoke at our council meeting when he got started. And so, the school district and the city, we obviously have different goals, but many of them are the same. And the top one that I see is that we both have an interest in a world-class public education system in our community and on areas where we can collaborate, like joint use, like school safety, the library, potentially other opportunities. We are very committed to doing so, and I appreciate Dr. Glass's willingness to collaborate to the full extent that it makes sense for both parties.
Well, and I agree with you. Thanks for that. There's a lot to look at in the district. Let's talk about a couple of the real high points right now. Is you just recently had two students named to National Merit Scholarship semifinalist. That's got to be something that you're proud of. Represents the district.
Yeah, a terrific success story there that really builds on multiple success stories over the past year. We had 97% 4-year, 98% 4-year graduation rate with the district. That's globally competitive, world class. You look at the outcomes that Laguna Beach delivers, globally competitive, world-class outcomes, and the services and supports that are offered in the district. Again, globally competitive, world-class. So this is a district that shows you with the right resources what public education can be and can do. And so, looking at it from that standpoint, our outcomes are just terrific. That certainly doesn't mean that there aren't places where we can get better and improve. We can and we are. And that's really the danger in a place like Laguna Beach, is you sort of rest on your laurels and don't make the changes and improvements that you need to. But that's not the culture here. Again, it's a district that attracts talent from all over California and really all over the West. People want to come here and work in this district because it's known as a place that's really supportive of educators. And so we attract top talent and people that are willing to try things and innovate, and that's an exciting place. I did just want to uh, also mention, as Mayor Rounaghi said about the partnership with the city, that's an exemplary component of the culture here, as well as we have this strong and mutually supportive relationship with the city around with our police force, with the joint use agreements that we have, and he mentioned working on the library project together as well. I've worked in lots of communities. I have enjoyed strong, beneficial, mutually supportive partnerships with cities and municipal governments in the places where I've worked. And this is another example of that. This is a terrific relationship. We want to make sure we protect that going forward.
So the other part of it is, well, the other thing I was going to point out is, it's always great to see a school that or a district that also has that the extracurriculum things that are so active, and Laguna Beach is certainly a part of that. I know the thing that gains the most attention is probably the football team, and you're what, 3-0 or so right now, and kind of rolling, but that's got to be good for school spirit and things like that to kind of kick things through. But congratulations on that. But then there's the other side of it, and Laguna Beach hit the news in the last week or so because of an incident that happened on campus. And that was where and I know there's parts that you can talk about, and I want to be respectful of you, Dr. Glass. There's parts you can talk about, and I know parts that you're prohibited from talking about. But what happened was a student wore a mega hat to campus. Another, if I'm correct in saying this, another student took the hat off, threw it in the trash can. A little maybe argument ensued. It led to some suspensions. That's kind of today's world, though. And so, why don't you take me through what you can talk about with that incident, what the outcome was, and how do you deal with those things going forward?
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate you raising the issue. It is something that's been on the minds of people in the community, and certainly with some regional and even national media attention, which is not surprising given the tenor of the national debate and things going on, that this would have been picked up and sort of elevated. I'm not able to talk about the specific incident or the students, and that's out of respect for the students' privacy and their rights. And so I can't speak about the issue, neither confirm nor deny any of the facts that you've stated. What I can say is that in a public school system, protecting free expression is part of what we do. We have a role in preparing students to be citizens in a representative democracy, and learning how to navigate free speech issues is part of that. We also have a critical role, especially in a public school system, in helping students navigate different points of view and how to be respectful of those and how to disagree with those in respectful ways. That is also a critical element if you're going to operate in a politically diverse, representative democracy. That is a skill that you're going to have to learn too. So we have a responsibility to do that. There are established reasons for suspending students that are in state law. So schools don't just make up reasons for why students get suspended. And as part of that consideration, when a student is suspended, we also have to consider, are there lesser disciplinary approaches that should have been considered or should have been applied? And would those have been affected? So both of those steps are required. There needs to be a reason for the suspension, and there needs to be the consideration of these other outcomes. Again, without speaking to the specifics of this issue, we do not suspend people for wearing hats or expressing their viewpoints respectfully and in accordance with their rights as citizens and as students. So I can affirmatively say that.
So Alex, you might want to jump in here. You're the one closest to that age group. What are your thoughts on, what you heard about the incident and, what's important to you coming from an elected official's standpoint?
Yeah, so I think, and Dr. Glass alluded to this earlier in the conversation about what's great about Laguna Beach School Board in our city is that we don't have these partisan political divides, but at the same time, political disagreements is what makes representative democratic government so great, right? It's why literally democracy, the whole idea of it is that you can resolve political disagreements without the use of violence. And that's what makes the shooting of Charlie Kirk last week so impactful to so many of us, even if we don't agree with his political beliefs. The idea of political violence is just so antithetical to what this country is about. And it's the same that same argument would be applied to, the shooting of this House Speaker in Minnesota, the attack on Paul Pelosi, the assassination attempt on President Trump. It's just very clear that as people who care about our democracy and our Constitution, we want political violence is never the answer. And then, at the same time, we want to ensure that nobody feels like they are discriminated against on the basis of their political beliefs. And so what I'm hearing, Dr. Glass, from you is that, wearing a MAGA hat would not be is not the justification for suspension in and of itself.
That is correct.
And because it just from what's reported, the idea if I wore a Kamala Harris, Tim Walz hat, or a Planned Parenthood hat, and I were a student at the high school, and I were assaulted, and that hat was taken off me, that just clearly wrong. And so I appreciate you saying that, because I just don't want anyone in our community to have this idea that it's okay to be discriminated against on the basis of political beliefs, even if because we all have different political beliefs, and we wouldn't want to be discriminated against for our own beliefs, just as someone with a different belief wouldn't want to be discriminated against for theirs.
Right. And I think it's important that we work with our students to teach them that tolerance of different viewpoints means sometimes you have to put up with speech you don't agree with and like. And that's part of,
Yes.
again, living in a diverse country and with diverse viewpoints. And if we, and that's really important that we have diverse viewpoints from all sides, all points in the political spectrum. And then as people, we get the choice to decide which direction we want to take going forward. So we have to protect those different viewpoints. We have to protect the value of tolerance of different viewpoints than our own, and we have to protect that right to make choices about our future. So those are all central elements of why our democratic republic exists, how we operate, and things that we want to model and demonstrate and protect in our schools as well.
So I'm obviously the old one of the group here, and I remember back when I was in fifth grade, JFK was assassinated. I remember that day they sent us home from school, so discussion stopped immediately. You went home, you were with your family, everybody turned on the TV, but you had two or three channels to choose from, not the hundred or so you have today with every varying viewpoint or whatever. And we watched in the coming days of the story develop on what happened to JFK and such. Today, because of the political mix on, in media, where you have pretty much a channel for any viewpoint you want to go in. When something happens as big as the Charlie Kirk issue, take me through a couple of things, Dr. Glass. Do you talk to the teachers and things about kind of the direction that they need to go into? And then how much of it becomes a learning exercise for the kids?
Yeah, it is always a case by case discussion. And so when we had just this past incident, you had sort of three things happening at once. You had the Charlie Kirk murder on the 10th, and there was a school shooting in Evergreen, Colorado that day as well. Regrettable, another school shooting that took place. And then the next day we had the 9/11 commemoration of that terrible day. And so there was a lot to think about and talk about on that day on September 11th. As part of a professional educator's training, um, working through how to handle controversial issues is part of that. The first thing that an educator should consider in engaging with a controversial issue is this part of the curriculum? Does this fit into what the students need to be working on right now? And so you may have some courses that are aligned and allow for that kind of discussion. For others, it doesn't make sense. So that happens, that determination happens with the individual professional educator and their administrator making that determination. From the district standpoint, we provide support to educators around talking points, key things or considerations that they might bring into that. Again, it's a case by case and contextual basis of when we provide reminders around those things or not. But in general, if an educator decides that yes, our classroom needs to take some time and discuss the issue that just happened, the way to approach that is to surface the facts, to allow for divergent perspectives and points of view, and to model civility and tolerance in hearing those, and to allow the students to arrive at their own conclusions around what they think about it going forward. The goal is always to teach students how to think about an issue, not what to think about an issue. So to the extent that we stay within those bounds of that we're surfacing facts, we're creating a process for thoughtful deliberation, we're leaving the ultimate determination as to what should happen and how people think about or where they arrive at a conclusion up to the individual. I think that's completely in line with our responsibilities as an institution in a democratic republic. I think that's what public schools should be doing.
Right. You know, I
Absolutely.
promise you, Dr. Glass, that one of these days, all these things are going to be in the rearview mirror, and we're going to have a conversation on here where now I'm going to turn my attention to Alex, where the biggest issue that we're going to be talking about from a city standpoint is the Laguna Beach elected officials went to Newport Beach this past weekend for a lawn bowling tournament against the leaders of Newport Beach, and Laguna Beach prevailed 3-zip in the different matches. I was there to watch it, Alex, and your team was impressive, but there was a glaring absence. You weren't there. Is that why they won, or would they have won bigger if you had been there?
Well, Tom, after in the demolition derby, they had four council members, me, the mayor of Costa Mesa, and I was able to prevail. So after that big defeat, I didn't want to. We have a water deal going on with Newport, so I didn't want to, humiliate them that badly. But very, very excited about our big win on Saturday, and of course the demolition derby, the big win we had there. So I'm hoping that we're able to still keep this water deal together in light of the embarrassment that they must be feeling. But what I'll close by kind of centering it back to what Dr. Glass was just referring to about the need for civility and, understanding other people's viewpoints, which is, it's not really just a school district thing, it's a societal thing. We all need to do a better job of understanding the perspectives of those that we disagree with and really lead with compassion and a goal of empathy and understanding. And I recently was on a panel with the mayor of Newport Beach, and we don't have the same national political viewpoints. I'm a registered Democrat and he's a registered Republican. But what we talked about on this panel was just the opportunity in local government to be able to collaborate on issues where, together we're working on building a well that will lead to local water reliability for the city of Laguna Beach and lower our ratepayer cost by $1 million a year. And just that the need for more conversations like that where you bring people of different perspectives together and find ways to find common ground and work towards solutions that benefit our constituents. So I'm hoping that this tragedy that happened last week can lead to positive change, which is, in the sense that we have more empathy, more desire for positive civil discourse. Because if we as a community in Laguna Beach, if we can be a model where we have really high level of civic discourse where we don't have to agree on everything, because in a way I've never met someone who I agree with 100% on every issue, but and I don't want to, because sometimes when I disagree with someone, I either it reaffirms why I'm believing something the way that I am, or maybe I change my perspective and come to a better conclusion about something. So we really should embrace disagreements, and any opportunities that we have to collaborate between the school district and the city to really elevate our civic discourse is something that I'm interested in, because I think if we can make our community a model for what those conversations can look like, it'll only lead to better public policy outcomes for all of our residents and just a better community where we can all, have these great relationships with our neighbors and not be divided like so many of the people in our country currently are.
Great. Well, all I can say is, we decided, you and I do this every week, Alex, and we decided to invite Dr. Glass in today. And what I'm coming away with is Laguna Beach is in great hands, both with our city government leadership, our school district leadership, lots of good stuff. And, it's like anything else. Occasionally, something is going to jump up and bite us a little, and we get past it. But I feel so comforted by both of you gentlemen joining me today and offering me, your perspective on what's going on. And I look forward to more of these in the future. So,
Me
Dr.
too.
Glass, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Tom.
Welcome
Thanks,
to
Alex.
101
Yeah.
days coming up soon, and pretty soon we'll be talking to you about being the old guy in the district. And Alex, always great to talk to you and catch up with you. I'll see you next week.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Glass, for your time. Really appreciate your perspective and your leadership for the district, and we look forward to continued collaboration on how we have the best city service that we can have and the best world-class public education that exists in California.
Thank you both. It's been a delight to be here, and I'm honored by the work that both of you do and compliment you both as people and professionals for the service that you give to this community. And I really hope Newport gets it together. Even with their substandard beaches and other facilities, it's really shocking that they got as close as they did. But I hope they can pull together and make a better showing next year.
Yeah, and Dr. Smith called me this morning, and he said he wants to get you one-on-one on the lawn bowling courts, Newport to Laguna. So we'll make that happen too. Anyway, thank you both. We'll be back next week with another edition of Fair Game Laguna. You guys have a great week.
Thank you.
Thank you both.